Laity Sunday is a special Sunday established by the General Conference to be observed on the third Sunday in October. Laity Sunday focuses on the celebration of the ministry of all lay Christians. On Laity Sunday, we also celebrate that we are all called, laity as well as clergy, to go and make disciples in a world desperately in need of hope through our humble service. In the local church, Laity Sunday is also an annual opportunity to celebrate all those who volunteer in any way toward the ministry of our congregation. This could be membership on a committee, contributing to the Sunday service or fellowship time, leading a Sunday school class, shoveling the walks, working in Gigi's closet, supporting the annual bazaar, repairing the sanctuary furnace on a Friday afternoon, and then checking on Saturday morning to make sure it's still working, and giving others rides to church activities, folding the monthly newsletter. Well, as you can imagine, I could go on and on. Anything that helps to raise funds, anything that helps with the physical and spiritual workings of the church, in truth, volunteering in any way helps to spread the ministry of our congregation. Look around you. See the many lay people that we have in our church. It takes all of us doing many different jobs to make up a strong congregation. When we work together, we establish the identity of our church. When we work together, the jobs are made easier. When we work together, we develop a strong support system for everyone. Our Sunday school discussion has focused on this idea in recent weeks as we've explored the value and benefit of being in community with each other. Laity Sunday recognizes the work and mission of all laity, not only within the walls of the church, but also in our everyday lives. It is a time to recognize the importance of our church in our community. We at First United Methodist Church in Newcastle participate in and support many activities in our community. This summer, we could be found at the farmers market, and we'll have a presence at Trunk or Treat in 2 weeks. In December, we'll have kids shopping for many Newcastle families, not just our own church families. On Shrove Tuesday, we'll be at the Episcopal Church. Next summer, we'll join with other Newcastle churches for Vacation Bible School. We are one of our community's strongest congregations, and when we are active in and support the ministry of our congregation, we also become more visible witnesses within our community. Methodism, in all its roots, has a long history of celebrating and recognizing the ministry of the laity. In the early days of American Methodism, the laity served and maintained congregations between visits of the circuit riders. Today, lay people are the front line of daily ministry at the workplace, in the home, and within the community. The theme of Laity Sunday 2019 is Go with Hope Through Purpose. As we welcome and offer the good news of Jesus to all, we commit to growing in love and responding to a world that needs God's life-mending, justice-creating grace. Therefore, we go with hope through purpose. To be most effective, though, we must first ask ourselves, to what are we called in life? Our vocation includes all of our actions to answer God's call on our lives. In fact, our vocation is the life we reflect into the world. What is it that others see when they look at us? What commitments and hopes do we reflect? Isaiah 49, verse 6 clearly defines the vocation of each believer. I will give you as a light to the nations, that my salvation may reach to the end of the earth. God's new life, God's hope, God's salvation is to be seen through our lives. We seek out our purposes so that our lives reflect the light of God. One finds a sense of purpose in life as a disciple by learning what it means to live out one's belief through acts of piety and acts of mercy, sharing one's faith, being nurtured in the faith, and engaging in service. The lectionary texts that Carl read all focus on what it means to search for and to live our vocation. For example, the psalm for the day proclaims, Oh, how I love your law. It is my meditation all day long. Through your precepts, I get understanding. Therefore, the law was not a burden, it was a gift. God's law was a guide for living. Or as Jeremiah proclaims to the people in captivity in Babylon, God will write God's law on your heart. The law was not simply a set of prohibitions. Rather, it provided the people with a vision of how they could interact productively and be fruitful. Timothy's letter continues this theme. He argues that teachings of the faith are training in righteousness so that everyone who belongs to God may be proficient, equipped for every good work. That instruction, as well as the affirmation of the law, has always been important to Methodists. The Methodist movement was rooted in discipline. John Wesley taught that we supported one another in disciplines of study and living so that our lives witnessed to the God we proclaimed with our words. It was that method that resulted in the name Methodist. In the Luke text, an intriguing picture of vocation is given. Jesus tells an amazing parable. A judge, someone who is expected to be fair and righteous, is not. This judge could not be trusted to adjudicate differences because he neither feared God nor had respect for people. His life witnessed against justice and not for it. Reading between the lines, don't you expect the people who heard this parable prayed that they did not have to answer to this judge? But a widow subjected to his judgment would not give up. Over and over, she kept coming to him. She endured. She was persistent and insistent. "Grant me justice," she said. Those who heard the parable were probably surprised with her efforts, for they knew it would do her no good. In fact, the real surprise in the parable was the judge's exasperated sigh when he said, "I will grant her justice so that she may not wear me out by continually coming here and embarrassing me." Luke reminds his readers of both God's gift of justice and the vocation, the purpose of the widow. She confronts the disrespectful judge over and over. She calls for justice. The widow witnesses through her actions. In Jesus' day, people regularly saw unjust judges. The Romans, who were in control, made fun of Jewish religious beliefs. The Romans claimed privileges for themselves. They kept a tight leash on the people and forced some leaders to comply with their wishes. But Jesus revealed that Roman injustice was not the only reality. He taught that in acts of healing, feeding, forgiving, and freeing, the realm of God was breaking through Roman power and control and offering experiences of community. In today's world, God hopes that people's lives are witness and light to the nations. The image of the persistent and insistent widow is profound. Her challenge of the unjust judge was her witness. We too are called by our baptisms to ministry, to work for justice continually. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable to you, O Lord, my rock and redeemer, states Psalm 19, verse 14. The Wesleys talked about means of grace. The means of grace at that time included regular prayer, study, and service to others, by which people's lives were formed in faithful ways. The means of grace remain the same today. And so I encourage you to take the message of Jesus Christ and go out into our community with hope and purpose.